I'm here on behalf of WMF Denmark chapter.
Oh, okay, okay.
To give you this,
thank you. Then I should...
quick introduction. It's more than an honor for us to talk to you because I think many of us have seen you, heard you, and also read you here. So we are a group of around 79 families here in Denmark chapter.
Oh,
not so
okay.
big, but the whole of Denmark is spread across 179 countries worldwide. And our effort is to get network to all the countries. We have started a lot of initiatives to establish contact with people across the world and spread our forum with all good initiatives. You have been a key contributor for this now. And
Thank you.
Today's instance is by the Women's Forum of Denmark chapter, wherein
Yes.
Rachna and all Ajuna, Shefali, all these people are a part of.
Yes.
And it's
but nice
their
to see a
initiative
young
today.
man also here.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yes.
We have a lot more who are probably joining soon. So Rachna will walk you through the Women's Forum, who's the reason for this initiative today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Santosh. And thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. So WMF Women's Forum is actually formed by a group of women volunteers across the world who want to help each other, motivate each other, so that you can pursue your career and aspirations. So we have planned a series of events, and as a part of it, the first one was a talk on nanotechnology. So the second one is authoring and publishing a book, and we have you as our guest. So it's an honor. Once again, thank you so much. So Shefali, I think you are the best person here to introduce, ma'am.
I think, like you said, Rachna, it's an absolute honor that we have Khyrunnisa ma'am amongst us. And it is extra special for me because Khyrunnisa ma'am was my English professor in my uni at All Saints College. And I take a lot of pride in saying this, that in ma'am's first book, How's That Butterfingers, one of the characters was called Shefali. I had no role to play, but I always tell everyone I know that you have to buy the book because, it's really good. And later on, they find out what the intention is behind it. So Khyrunnisa ma'am actually needs no introduction in our Malayali community. I think you're one of the most loved authors of our time. And I think your writing style, especially the humor, the way you make characters so relatable, is so unique and so you. But before we go into all of those, we want to know as a group, how did you start as an author? Because I know you as my teacher, so I want to know a bit more about the author part.
Right. So you are asking me to start? Yes. Yes, all right. Yeah. So thank you very much. Let me start by doing the preliminary word of thanks to Santosh, to WMF, to the Women's Forum, where I'm hoping there'll be some men also. We shouldn't make it exclusively for women because you need that. And I should say that I'm honored to have been invited by you to talk to you for a little while. And a great, and Rachna was the person who was in touch with me. So Rachna, thank you very much. And Shefali was a surprise. I taught her, she was my victim in college. And then she goes and she disappears and she pops up here after so many years. Lovely. And you're not there only in the first book, you're there in the third book. You are the big built wicket keeper, all right, Shefali, in my book. Yes, I thought of you when I gave the name, right, Shefali? So it was not a random choice. So thank you very much, and I'm very glad to be here. So without further ado, I think I can talk about my journey as a writer. So that's what you want, right, Shefali? I think I have to start at a point where, I did not really want to become a writer. So it is not, there are different types of writers. There are people who have always wanted to write, who wanted to become writers. That was their ambition. I'm not one of those. But maybe you could say the signs were there because I loved reading. See, I went to school in the second standard. I missed the LKG, UKG, first standard. So if you find any shortcomings, please blame it on my incomplete education. I started straight in the second standard, and but even then, and I was just beginning to learn English. It was compulsory that we speak in English. It was a convent school, Holy Angels Convent. Not all were angels, quite some of us were quite devils, but we had to speak in English. And so that, and then I'm also the youngest of 8 children. There are 7 girls and 1 boy. That poor boy, he's the second eldest, and I am the youngest. And one thing was that, so at every 2-year interval there is a child. There's a sister 2 years older, another one 4 years, 6 years. It goes on like that. Somewhere they made a mistake. There were a 3-year gap, and so what happens is each one, there are some in schools, some in colleges. But what was common to all of us is that we all loved reading. So books were always at home, not bought books. We couldn't afford to buy books like that. Borrowed books with the intention of returning, of course. And so we had a lot of books at home, borrowed from the libraries, from the school libraries, from the college libraries, from the local libraries. We had the British Council, we had the public library. So university library never had children's section. It was only for academic work. But so there were books, and I grew up reading. So reading was something that was very special, because I'm watching people read. I'm surrounded by books. It is natural that you start reading. And along with reading, my love for the English language also started. So maybe you can say that there began what ultimately turned out to be, it brought out maybe the writer in me. So that was, I had more exciting ambitions: engine driver, bus conductor, road roller, you know, that huge road roller. I wanted to drive that. It's such a powerful thing, and I thought it would be nice. That's a nice ambition. So there are all these ambitions. There was also the ambition of becoming a teacher. That is because you're in school and you find the teacher holding the whip hand. So you come home and you have a role reversal. Only your students are the plants, the trees, the twigs, and so on. And so that was a minor ambition, but that was finally what I became. And meanwhile, I was reading, and I read all kinds of books. But I had a weakness for humor. And also, so if you want to know how I journeyed towards a writer, and considering the kind of writing I have been doing, which is humor writing, I think the foundation was laid at home. And my desire, or rather my weakness, as I said, for humorous books. So at home, when you're growing up with a lot of children, you have to hold your own. As the youngest, you can be bossed over. So you need to have the ability for repartee, to quip, to give back. So here is everyone waiting to outsmart the other verbally. So you are on your toes all the time. So you could say that kind of training was given to me at home among my siblings. So humor, maybe you could say that I internalized humor. And though I was reading all kinds of books, I used to cry over A.J. Cronin's Spanish Gardener buckets, but it was Les Miserables, made me so miserable. And but then you have P.G. Wodehouse. I discovered him when I was in the 8th standard. And I haven't let go of him. I mean, his books. And so he is an all-time, he's my all-time favorite, all right, P.G. Wodehouse. So there I was doing this, and I loved English. I took literature. I had to face some opposition because at home they wanted me to do medicine. And you know how it is. Yeah. Medicine or engineering, 2 options.
Only 2 options, yeah.
If you want literature, you have to fight for it. But I think literature is a notch above history, which is a lovely subject. But somehow nobody wants their child to learn history. I just cannot understand that. Anyway, I love history too, but I did literature, went on to do PG, and I went to teach in a school. So all this while, what writing was I doing? Did I ever have an ambition to become a writer? No, but I loved writing. So whenever we had any writing class where we have in those days, we used to call it composition period. A period when you are given a topic and asked to write a story, an outline story. You write a story. You are given an essay topic. You write an essay, or whatever it is. I used to wait for those periods because I wanted to write. So what I want to tell you is there's a difference between wanting to write, enjoying writing, and wanting to become a writer. To become a writer, it's an ambition. You want to write, you want your books to be published, you want people to read, it goes on like that. For me, it's only the joy of writing. So other than that, I was not doing much writing. Then in college, I had to be pushed actually to write. So you have the teachers telling me I must go for this competition. All India Radio, I used to write stories which we read out there. And I must have read them horribly because one girl actually told me, your story was very nice, but she hummed and hawed. I said, I know, I must have done a terrible job of reading the story. So all these things were happening. But after that, in the day after my PG Viva was over, the Holy Angels ICSE principal asked me if I could teach English there. I was not even qualified to teach. I hadn't done my PG. But in those days, I don't think there was that kind of very that strict about it, or I do not know what it was. But I went to teach. And that was the 9th and the 10th standard ICSE. I had to teach Shakespeare, poetry. I had a group of wonderful students, fabulous students. They spoiled me, you should say. They made me believe that all students are like this. They were bright. They were, full of life. Wonderful students. They made me decide that I should teach. They are the ones responsible for making me believe that I can teach, that I can enjoy teaching, because I was enjoying teaching. And then I went on to, but then you need a steady job, right? I was in a school, it was a temp, not very certain. And I wrote a competitive exam, became a bank officer, didn't like it one bit, wanted to come back to teaching. And I landed in All Saints College. I resigned from my bank job and I joined All Saints, and that was how I met Shefali much later. So that is the story of men. All this while, I was not writing, right? I was writing for the college magazine. Every year, they used to ask me to write an article for the magazine. That was happening. But beyond that, nothing was happening. So what exactly was the trigger? Well, so this is the story. And when my son was small, we used to get this magazine called Tinkle at home, right? Now, quite a few of you who are listening in may have read this or heard about this and so on. So as I always tell my students, please pretend you are listening and you're hearing it for the first time. So what happened was they had asked for, there's a competition. I read about a competition for adult writers of children's fiction, right? And it was a short story competition, 3,000 words. It should be original, all right? And you have to send it within a particular time. So I thought, okay, adult, I suppose I am. Original story, I will try. Writing skills, maybe, I do not know. Let me see what I can do. I put all these together and I wrote a story. Now here is where you can say something happened which set me on the road of humor writing. So I'll tell you now, I wrote it for a lark. I wrote it just like that. But you want to get a prize. You're not entering a competition for nothing. It's only when you don't get the prize that you talk about the Olympic ideal.
Yeah.
What is it? It is the participation that matters, not the winning.
Yeah.
So, and I thought I will write a story which is humorous. I'd already decided, because I always used to try and bring humor into my writing, even in school when I was writing something. So I thought, okay, then Butterfingers. At home, we are a clumsy lot. And when somebody drops something, that person is called Butterfingers. It's not a word I coined. It's been there for years in the English language. So Butterfingers and it's the common usage made me realize that this is a nice character, a character with a nickname Butterfingers. Then the third thing, which is cricket. I love sports. I enjoy sports. Cricket, been following cricket like anything, football, tennis, athletics. We are all love sports. I read the paper back to front. thereby missing a holiday, which is talked about in the first page, and end up in the bus stop, and only I'm there. So that is, I was reading, no, so I decided, okay, I will write a story which is sports-based, cricket-based, because there aren't many stories. Because of my reading, I know there aren't too many sports-based stories for children. So I wrote that and I sent the story, all right? The title is Butterfingers. So that was my first story, you can say. And that won a second prize.
And
I
when
was very happy.
this?
This was in long back, 96.
Wow.
It's an old story. Yeah.
Yeah.
The story is old, though it's an old story. So here you have this story getting a prize, second prize. I was very happy because in an all India competition, a second prize is not to be sneezed at. And that was it. That would have been the end of the story, since we're talking about stories all the time. And but for the fact that a few months later, I had a visitor at home. This is a lady came with her husband, practically dragging him, I think. And this lady turned out to be two perfect strangers. And she introduced me as Prabha Nair, who is the assistant editor of Tinkle. So I was very surprised. Assistant editor of Tinkle coming to your house. Don't think that she came all the way from Bombay just to see me. Her in-laws are in Trivandrum. She was coming to Trivandrum anyway. Even I don't have such illusions. And she said, so apparently they liked the story very much in Tinkle. Why they didn't give me the first prize, I don't know. I didn't have the courage to ask. But they liked it very much. And they told her, if you're going to Trivandrum, if it is possible, why don't you just go and look her up, find out if she's as bubbly as her story. And she actually came to see me. So that for me was a wonderful thing. And I was very happy. And she asked me whether I am sending an entry for the next year's competition. I said, no. She said, why not? I said, I've already got a prize. She said, what? One prize, such low ambitions. You're very happy with your one prize? No, you've got to write. I never thought about it. I thought that once you get a prize and you can't enter, or I did not really bother. But she said, we go by the quality of the writing. We have an independent panel of judges, etc., etc. You have to enter. If your story is good, let the judges decide, but you must enter. She was the person who encouraged me, and she always tells me, please don't talk about me. I am not the only one who put you on this track. And that is why I make it a point to talk about her and give her the credit I should give her. And I went on to, so the next year I sent an entry, got the first prize, and the writing one with me for 7 years. It went on first prize, not 7 consecutive years. And then so by then my writing, I was getting to like writing. Indian Express wanted me to start a column about books, which I liked very much because I'm going back to the books again. To write a column on books, you need to read the books, even if I have read them earlier. So, and I had the, the freedom to choose the books, but they should be good books. So that was happening. And meanwhile, by then, Tinkle, they know me because of and I was not writing regularly because I had my job. And I had a child, I had my husband, I mean, you can reverse the order. And I had to look after the house. I had to do my college job. You know how time consuming it is. I love teaching. So that was taking up time. So once in a way I was writing, but Tinkle asked me whether I could create a regular character for them. They have these regular characters. So this Butterfingers, though I have created many characters, this guy was living in my head. He's a special character, a favorite at home. Brought him back, and it became a huge success. So when that happened, so this is my route, all right, not the traditional route that you will find a writer taking. So you see how one thing led to the other, So when I write for Tinkle, what happens is I write a long version, almost 2,500 words my story would be, which gets reduced to say 8 to 10 pages of comic strip. The first time it happened, my heart broke. I know, my long story, my description, my characters, my wonderful
precious words.
Precious words, all gone.
Yeah.
Then I realized it was a different ball game. It was a different art form altogether. It was a different genre altogether, comics. I understood that, but that was when the first, I got it into my head. Maybe if I can get these stories published, the longer version, the copyright is with me. So I didn't compromise on my writing. I knew what they wanted. Tinkle. I knew after that, that they want action, they want some humor, they want something to happen all the time. So it should be a page turner. But I stuck to my old format because at that time, a vague idea had formed that I should get them the longer version published as a collection of stories. So when I had enough stories, I approached Puffin. Puffin is the children's imprint of Penguin. And at that time, it was Penguin India. Now it is Penguin Random House. And thankfully, the editor liked the stories. See, it could have happened if she didn't like it, they won't get back. They've got too many submissions. So they won't get back. Not getting back means rejected. But she got back and she said, I like it very much. I like your character. I like the background. I like the school atmosphere. I like the sports. I like the fun. I like everything. So I just as I'm getting better, feeling very good. She said, but. So then this but was, butting in. And I was wondering what was happening. What's she going to say? But I'm so sorry, we cannot publish. But what she said was, can you think of writing a novel with these characters, with this background, with all this fun and so on? I did not think of writing a novel. It was never my ambition to write a novel. And here is someone asking me, a big publishing house, asking me if I could write a novel.
So this is like what, 2008, 2009?
No, this was 2009. 2009. Yeah, this was in 2009 because my 2006 I started what I call the second innings of Butterfingers when he became a regular character, and by 7, 8 he was hugely popular. Butterfingers was extremely popular all over India, and that was going on by the side. These every month, first it was a fortnightly, then it became a monthly, and then again fortnightly. It was going on, but almost every issue would have Butterfingers. And so then she said, I said, okay, let me try. And I went back to my first story. That is the Butterfingers story, the one which initiated the whole process. So I went to that, and I thought there was enough meat in it to be expanded into a novel. So I sent her the synopsis. She liked it. So there was some back and forth happening. She liked it. Then she said, can you send me 3 chapters? Okay. So then I had to think of the whole thing. It's one thing writing synopsis. Another, mentally deciding, okay, you need so many chapters. You need to write 3 chapters. So I wrote 3 chapters and I sent them to her. And she said, it's fine. I think we can proceed. And this is what took me aback. She sent me the contract.
Wow.
I got the contract. Yeah, I got the contract for this book. At that time, the contract only said Butterfingers, and for this book. And within 6 months, I was supposed to submit the whole manuscript. That is how it happened. And how's that? So she was the one. My title was Oops, It's Butterfingers. I thought because he's always dropping things. His 2 favorite words, Butterfingers, 2 words that he uses most often are oops and sorry. Oops and sorry. Yeah. So I thought, oops, it's Butterfingers is nice. But my editor, very canny, very smart, she realized that this is a cricket book. So we have to announce, the title should announce that it is a cricket book. So she suggested, how's that, Butterfingers? And I said, oh, wonderful. Okay, that sounds good. And that was how How's That came. How's That became a big success. It just took off. And then they said, why not have a series? Let's think of a Butterfingers series. And meanwhile, I made one change, which was from the first story to the Butterfingers series. I made it. My hero was a boy whose name was Mukesh, but I changed it to my son's name, Amar. I made it Amar. So Butterfingers is Amar. All right. I always believe he wasn't listening to me when I was telling him, asking him this. And he just nodded his head. His yes could be like this, or it could be like this, or whichever way he nodded his head, I took it to be yes, and that was how it happened. And anyway, so we thought of the series. Then Gold Butterfingers came. Then Clean Bowl Butterfingers happened. And then they said, because they didn't want short stories, that's why they wanted a novel. They don't publish short stories. I still cannot understand. All publishers have this thing about short stories. They don't particularly encourage, they don't publish many short stories. And now they had faith in me, I think. Now let's think of your short stories. So then we had 3 collections of short stories, and now I'm writing the 7th book. Meanwhile, because I started writing, I got this column in the Hindu happened, and then I started writing other stories. So it went on. So mine is not a career in writing as much as an alternate career in writing, because my career was teaching. So I was writing on the side. It was just happening. And I was writing. So that is my journey. Did you expect such a long journey like Rohinton Mistri's book?
I actually did. Knowing you, I did.
Shefali, you will give everyone the impression I'm a long-winded person and go on and on.
You make your stories so interesting. There's never like
yeah, I mean,
right?
honestly, I mean, while listening to you, it was like, we are listening to a new version of a story writing. It was beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah,
I must admit, I was like listening to the whole story.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Santosh.
This is like a story in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that is what happened. And so
I could see that you had a lot of not challenges per se, but you had a lot of instances wherein you thought that, are you sure? But can you tell us one challenge that you faced while you were trying to maybe write stories? Yeah.
Yeah, well, one challenge, there are different kinds of challenges. Of course, the first one was to write a novel. See, I did not want to write, I mean, I know the theory of novel writing and so on, because we are, I'm teaching English literature in college. We have literary criticism where you have how you write a novel and stuff like that. But theory is very different from the practicality of it. So that was a challenge for me. How will I write a novel? How do I sustain the story? See, all this while I had been writing short stories. Butterfinger stories were short stories. I was writing other stories. By then I had got the Unison Writing Award, and there also I had written a collection of short stories. So short stories I thought was my forte. That is something I want to tell you, that do not assume that you have discovered your forte. What you can do may be something else. So the occasion brings it out, maybe, or you have to keep trying. So that was a little difficult. I was wondering, how can I sustain interest? See, the novel, that's how it is, right? It's a thick book, and you need to keep the attention, the unflagging attention of the reader. Would I be able to do that? Would there's some kind of a noise, I think. I don't know. Can you hear some noise?
Yes.
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 I really do not. Is it coming from you all or from me? Am I the producer of the noise? Not me, from around. Oh God. No. Okay. Anyway, let's hope it'll stop. I don't know. I hope it's not disturbing you. Is it?
No, it's not so bad, ma'am.
It's not so bad. All right. Okay. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so that was one challenge, to see.
Your story is more interesting, so we ignore any noise that's coming around.
So we have the ability to shut out noises, an amazing ability. So yes. So anyway, so that was what was happening, and yeah, that was a challenge. And I thought, I like challenges, and I thought, let me see if I can face this challenge, and I managed that. I did do that. And I wrote this novel. But let me tell you, I was not the critical person in me, the literary critic in me wasn't particularly happy with this, because I felt there were 2-3 chapters that could be removed from the book, and the book story would still go on. That's not how a novel should be. In a novel, every part should be, there must be something linking every part. So I realized you have to be your own severest critic, right? So I was looking at it from the outside. How would it be? What did I do? Everyone liked it very much. It was, even now people say that is your best book. But for me, my second book is my best as far as the Butterfingers series go, Gold Butterfingers.
Yeah.
Because there I was very conscious that I must see that every little is taken into account. There is something called Chekhov's gun. I don't know whether you've heard of that device. What it means is Anton Chekhov says that if there is a gun on the table in Act 1, that gun should be used in Act 3. You can't just have a gun on the table. It should have its use. Yeah. Meaning if you introduce something early, that must have a role to play later. Just for the sake of sensation, just for the sake of humor, just for the sake of something, you can't just bring in anything. So I was very conscious of all these, and when you read the book, you'll realize how a small glass piece, I might break something, and a glass piece finally leads to something towards the end. All right. So I'm very happy with Gold Butterfingers as a book, which is for me artistically the most complete book. So that was one challenge. Another challenge, as you asked me, is because I write humor, people don't accept my writing serious things. So I have written for Unison a couple of serious stories, and people tell me, nice, very nice, but it is not you. I mean, they've already decided who I am. It is not you. So that is a challenge, but I realized that I don't really have to prove anything to anyone, because I'm comfortable writing humor, because I like writing humor, and people want me. It's not a question of being typecast or anything. It is just that, just like we go to certain books, I go to Woodhouse because it is fun. We go to Gerald Dull because it's about animals and fun. We go to Bill Bryson because it's about travel and fun. So we know what to expect. So I think when we go to a writer like that, and the writer does something completely different, I don't know. You might feel that the writer is cheating. He's not doing the right thing. So I'm not particularly unhappy about that. So, but it is a kind of a challenge there. So that was one. These kind of things happen, Santosh.
Yeah, but the most beauty of it is that the attention to the details that you mentioned, like the gun on the table in chapter 1 is mentioned in the chapter 4. I think this is beautifully taken up.
Yeah, one needs to do that. So that is why writing a novel is very different from writing a short story, because a novel, you have to carry this whole thing in your head. Many people think short story is more difficult because within a particular so many pages, you have to write the whole story. So that is a challenge, it's a different kind of challenge. But a novel is a challenge in a different way, because you have to carry the whole story. You have to carry the characteristics of the characters, so many things. You can't go wrong anywhere. So in that way, it is a huge challenge. Writing a novel itself, I think, is a huge challenge. Yeah. Yes, Shefali. Yes, Santosh.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I have a question for you. Who gets to see your book first before getting it published?
Who gets to see my book first? Of course, I'm the first to see my book, but the first person, well, I have my husband and my son. They are the ones who see it first. They are the ones to whom I send the manuscript. And especially because my first 3 books were sports-based. Much as I'm telling you that I just told you I love cricket. I never played cricket. We play cricket at home with our own rules, with a plastic bat, and if the ball goes out of the window, it is out. If it hits there, it is a 4, and all kinds of crazy rules. So that is about all the cricket I have played. So when it comes to actually describing a match, I've seen matches, I have listened to commentary and so on, but I'm still a little unsure. Am I getting the shot right? Am I getting the field placement right? Am I doing things the right way? So when I send these to my son, he was not there at that time at home, and my husband, I will give it to him. My husband is what can I say? He enjoys. He's a kind. He does not do anything like editing or suggest anything, he'll just say very nice. I was just enjoying it. So I don't really, once in a way only he will tell me. Once he told me, look, the shot you have described, the fielder cannot be in that position where you said catch was taken. It can't happen. You have to be a Superman to do that. So I told him, all right, then you tell me where he has to be, because I know that children, I've done that myself. You're waiting for the writer to make mistakes. You want to catch the writer out. So I know that these boys and girls also, who now so many of them play cricket and love cricket, they will be looking out for flaws in the holes in my narration and so on. So I did not want those things to happen. So that I would do, and I would see that it was all done correctly. So they, and also my both of them, especially my son, would tell me if there are any problems in the plot. And he's a very gentle boy. He's not, I've given him the name Butterfingers, but he's actually a very gentle, calm, very nice guy. And same with my husband. So what happens is he'll very almost apologetically say, don't you think this is not quite right?
Okay.
So that is how it is. Then I have got a clue. After that, I have the first two books I had given a very close friend of mine, Srilata, to read, who is a very astute person who would pick out, the proofread kind of thing. She would pick out mistakes, because you know how it is. Even we read the mistake as the correct thing because it's your work.
Yeah.
So if it is the with E missing, we don't even notice sometimes when one is missing. So you need another fresh pair of eyes. So that she used to do, and that is how then you send it. I send it to the editor, and I think the rest of the process happens there. So that is published. That is how you can write. So creativity, if you ask about creativity, different people, it's different. In fact, Rachna asked me, said I must talk about how tips to get to write and tips to get published, right? So tips to write, what I would say is that you really need to be a good reader. You have to read. See, you have to have a broad mind. You have to have wide knowledge. You have to know a lot in the sense, you also have to be interested in people. You have to be interested in the world around you, in every level, all right? So what you do is that unless you are a good reader, unless you have a solid foundation on reading, you can't really be a good writer. Which is why when people ask me, my child is 7 years old, he's written 3-4 stories. My daughter is about 8 years old, she has written stories, I want them published. I try to tell them, no, you don't do that, because the child also gets wrong ideas getting something published. But for the parents, my child is a writer. I really, much as I don't want to say things that they don't want to hear, I tell them, why don't you wait a little? Let the child write, but don't publish it now. Keep it. And if the child himself or herself will change what they have done, what they have written, let them read now. Make reading something that they take pleasure in. Because when you read widely, your language also improves. You are exposed to different styles. You are exposed to different attitudes. You really grow. Your mind grows. You really grow when you read. So once that is there, you have the maturity to embark on writing. So writing is hard work. Just writing stray bits here and there and then getting them published is not going to take you anywhere. So you must decide what you want to do. Do you want to just make some extra money by writing when you have a career, or do you want to be a full-time writer? Let me tell you, to be a full-time writer is rather difficult. Full-time writer meaning to earn money only through your writing, unless you hit the big league. The ones who are really there at the top. Otherwise, that is that's why you have this lovely phrase, struggling writer. struggling writer. Yes, most writers are struggling writers. So if you have a job where you get your bread, then you can write and get some jam, bread and butter from your job, and a little bit of jam, sometimes a dollop of jam from your writing. That's the way you can look at it. Of course, there are people who do hack writing, writing under time pressure and so on. So there are different ways in which you can write, but to really, what you need to do is to enjoy writing. You shouldn't be nervous about writing. You should be happy writing.
Do you have a recommended process for it? Like, how do you, like, some kind of rules they should follow,
Actually, one should never have rules, because you should make your own rules when you are writing, because each one has a different way of writing. See, if you're going to follow my rules, I really do not know. I'm such a disorganized writer. You should.
No, that's I think further to that question was like, to ask you that, have you ever written, like you had a frame that you had to finish something in 6 months?
Yes.
So did you feel the pressure, or did you actually get impacted by somebody telling you? Because I understand that you are a free writer, you flow free. But when somebody tells you that, you need to write it in this frame,
yes,
do you get influenced?
Yes, one lovely question, because it is true. This kind of, it is pressure. But I have discovered that I work best with deadlines. When there are deadlines, because otherwise I can be a lazy writer. I could just say, let me finish this book and then I will do something. Let me do this. You can keep on procrastinating. Yeah. But when I know that there is this deadline, I know I have only this much time to write. What I do is then I plan. Of course, I change my plans regularly. Just as before exams, we plan how to study and we make a timetable. And every day we change the timetable because we never keep it. So that is what I used to do. But I had a plan. And I was always conscious of the fact that it really didn't do anything to my creativity. I think what Santosh wanted to know was whether the pressure would stop the free flow of words and so on. Not really, because isn't that what you meant? So for me, what happens is, so my writing, much of my writing happens in my head. I carry the story. I carry what it's when I'm doing these mechanical jobs like cooking, washing up, and those kind of things, which I'm sure cooks won't be happy when I say mechanical job. For them, it is artistic and so on. So they have to, but for me, it is a mechanical job. And when I'm doing that, I'm thinking of the story. So I'm actually, I might look a little abstracted and a little absent-minded and so on, because I'm thinking of my story all the time. So actual writing does not take much time for me. It is the putting together of the plot, thinking of what will happen next and so on. All that happens in my head. So that is what for me is very important. So like you said, I'm not, I'm not like writers who like Trollope, he was working at the post office, and this Trollope, and every morning he would write 900 or 2000 words before going to office. It is a must for him to do that. That disciplined he was. I don't do that kind of thing. I know my deadline is there. So suddenly put one long stretch of writing. Then something else happens, because you must remember that I'm writing this when I'm also teaching, when there are many other demands on my time. So that makes it a little difficult. It makes it a little challenging, and therefore it makes it, you're determined to do all these things. So that is how I do that. And therefore I don't have a particular, it's nothing streamlined, nothing is, I will work, I will do this now, this now, this now. And I'm not a morning person. I'm not, a fowl, I'm an owl. I prefer working in the evening, in the night. I do write in the morning when I am forced to. I do a little bit of correction and editing and so on, but that is happens. But I really feel happy writing when I'm not sleepy, because morning I tend to feel a little drowsy. And therefore, I prefer writing in the evening. But as with all my writing, here also, if I'm forced to write in the morning, I'll write. I'll have to do that. Yeah.
Ma'am, Sandhya here. can I have a question? Can I ask a question? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, it may not be for budding writers. It may not always be possible or easy to get an entry to be published. And
Yes.
I hear that there are a lot of, online platforms where, you can start experimenting or start trialing to publish your, whatever humble work that you have. Do you have any recommendations on which are the better ones,
I really do not know, but it is much easier to get online platforms. I think there is Amazon has ebooks. They allow you to publish ebooks. So I think you can publish through Amazon. That is not a big publisher. It's not a big publisher's books being available on Amazon, but Amazon allows you to do this independent ebook publishing. So now what's happening is there are a lot of writers who are very good at marketing, who know how to tap the online market, who know how to get their readers, because thanks to technology, there's so many options are there. It is possible to talk about your book on many platforms. So I don't have any particular, other than this Amazon, I don't know any particular platform where you can publish, but I'm sure if you search the internet, you will find internet is a great big daddy, right? It gives you everything that you want, and you will find all that, a lot of options, a lot of suggestions there, but you have to be careful. Yeah, and that's what I would like you to know, because to get published by big publishers is a huge challenge. It's very difficult, especially for, as you said, a first-time writer. See, always, as happens with everything, when you go for a job, they'll ask you, what's your experience? But unless somebody gives you the experience, where do you get the experience? So nobody gives you the experience, and they're always asking you for experience. Similarly with a writer also, if you've already made a mark, they're willing to take you on. But if you haven't, it's not that easy to break through. So but since these options are there and people have succeeded greatly using these options, I think you can try them.
Okay, all right. Okay, so most of my, I'm a person who writes and keeps in my notebooks mostly. And the only place where it has seen a limelight is, I'm a Toastmaster also. I guess you should be aware about the Toastmasters Club, where storytelling is one.
Yes. That means you must be a very good speaker. Yeah.
Yeah. And there, whatever mostly I use story as a platform, and it gets, it really excites the audience. So I can feel that, yes, I have an ability to visualize things and create an interest in the audience. But I've never attempted, or though it's there in the wish list, to get published slowly. So that's why I was asking about these online platforms.
Yeah, I think you could, because since you find that people are responding and that gives you confidence, I think there is no harm in trying. And you would also try out the traditional publishers. You try and submit a little bit of what you have written, because all of them in their websites, they tell you how to get your books published, how to reach out to them. So you could try that also. Who knows? One of them might pick you up. There are a lot of big publishers. There are slightly smaller publishers also. They're all good publishers. So I think you should try that too before going for self-publishing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and all the best.
Thank you.
Can I have a question, please?
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Vidya Shankar here.
Hi. Hello.
So, being a published writer myself and a teacher, I know what it means to for the students to have a writer as a teacher. How is it a similar experience with you? How did your students feel having a writer for a teacher?
Oh, I think they were thought of me as a writer. It was always a teacher. For them, I was always a teacher. Actually, I had this House at Butterfingers was written. House at is also published for them. I'm sorry, prescribed for them. In the BA syllabus, it is there. In the creative writing paper, which is an elective, there is a children's literature segment where there is Alice in Wonderland, there's Narnia, and there is House at Butterfingers. But though I am there as a prescribed, my book is prescribed, I don't think they regard me as a writer. For me, the rapport is mostly as a teacher. And I also don't talk about my writings or anything. I just don't, it is completely different. It's something that I was enjoying on the side. I did not want it to overwhelm my personality as a writer. For me, as a teacher, to be a teacher was very important for me. So I never let these two mix. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya. Good to see you. Yes.
We have a few more questions.
Yes.
Rachna, should we take the one from Facebook then? Since we're also live.
Yeah, yes, we can take the question. So there is a question from Kaikashi VS. They always say that it is difficult to write for children, but we are so surprised to find that you can manage to write remarkably well for adults too. Tongue-in-cheek stands testimony to this unique talent. How do you manage to strike this balance? And she's also commended that Khyrunnisa madam is her dearest author.
Okay. Hello, Kaikasi. Really nice to have you there. I think Shefali might know Kaikasi, right? She was there when you were studying.
Yeah.
Yes. And Kaikasi is also a teacher. She's an assistant professor in a college now. Yeah. So I really don't know, because for me, what happens is I'm not writing for very small children. I'm writing for the bigger child. I mean, 10 plus and 10 to 100. That's my age, band. So 10 to, I find older people enjoying the books. Nawab of Patawdi loved my House at Butterfingers and actually wrote me a personal letter saying how much he liked it. VVS Lakshman liked Clean Board Butterfingers very much. Shashi Tharoor likes all my books very much. So they're not for small children. And I, as a teacher of English, as a lover of English language, I kind of bring literature and language in it. So actually at different levels, you can enjoy my books. So when that is happening, writing for an older person is not, if an adult is not difficult. Had I been writing for very small children, then you need to, it's quite a leap to write for adults. But in one thing that is common to both my writing for children and for adults is both are humorous. Only thing is, when you're writing for adults, you can talk about more themes. You're not restricted. When you're writing for children, there is a kind of restriction. There are some invisible boundaries, and we don't want to go beyond that, because we are always conscious, even if it is for the older child, 10 plus, 11, whatever, or a very, with high reading skills, 9, whatever it is, we know it's for children. So there are some taboo things. Nobody tells you that, but you put these taboos. Whereas when you write for adults, that's not there. So there is a lot of fun. I bring in fun, the kind of humor which I do not, which is not fully there in Butterfingers or in my other stories, but I also, I don't find it that difficult. It's only a question of how, the language also, you just raise it a notch maybe, and themes are many more. But even in my adult writing, I don't go into anything that is what you can call adult, right? In fact, and I told when someone said and I told someone I have written my first book for adults, they said, really? What are those pages? I said, what pages? I said, there aren't such pages. I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but there are no such pages. You can read my book with a magnifying glass from beginning to end, and I am not going to find it.
You can read it in public without having a cover or...
Yeah, so that is how it is. So that's how I do my writing, and thankfully, as Rachna also said, as Kaikasi said, tongue-in-cheek has been much appreciated. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Kaikasi.
I think, ma'am, we have time for like one last question.
Yeah, we have just 5 more minutes, I think. Yeah.
So, Rachna, should we just...
Yeah. So, can you tell us one message that you think can help the world today from writer's perspective?
The one message that can help the world today?
Yes, from writer's perspective.
Okay, from a writer's perspective, I've always told you that a writer must have a broad mind, right? So from a writer's perspective, what I would say is accept everyone as a fellow human being. Be humane. That is what we want in this world. And laugh.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you. So have we come to the end of the program?
I think all of us have definitely learned a lot. The key point being that you just read and read and read, and writing is probably a part of it. And I think it was a fantastic message that you ended with. And I think it's much needed in times like today, where we are humane and accepting and welcoming and just being nice to each other. So we definitely,
and nice in a really nice way, not
authentic.
in a hypocritical way.
Yeah,
genuinely nice. Love
I
you.
also have to add one little note here that
Yes.
having a lot of family back in Trivandrum, well, most of them went to All Saints College, and all of them were very excited, and they said that you were one of their most favorite teachers. So just passing that message
thank you
out
so
to
much. Yes, I thought something was coming up, and I was waiting. What did they tell you? Thank you very much. Please give them my love and regards.
Yes, so do they.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
for giving me this opportunity to meet all of you and talk to you. It was a great pleasure, and I wish your forum all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for joining us as well.
Yeah.
Bye.
And and thanks to WMF Denmark, who is also taken up this initiative to get you over. And I hope that you visit Denmark someday.
Yes.
Yes.
You have a place to stay, so please do.
Yeah. Many places to stay.
So thank you very much once again. Bye.
Yeah,
Have a great
bye-bye.
day.
Thank you so much.